Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of Arsenal Fan Circle. This is our first season, our debut season, and episode 17. Can you believe that already? Episode 17. Well, I have had a mini hiatus while I took a holiday or vacation, went over across the water and visit family, and I had the opportunity to take in the Arsenal game as well. Um, Take in the Brighton game, the Arsenal Brighton game. So um, I'm getting started here, and I'm going to have a special guest join me to discuss the Brighton game in particular, but also while I've been away, we have had two um, legs of a semi final against Valencia in the Europa League. So we're going to get started talking about um, the Valencia game at home. That is the first leg of the semi-final, and we will get into the Brighton game and indeed the second leg of the Valencia game, and then finally we will talk about the Burnley game away from home, which was something of a meaningless game. Hey Noe, thanks for coming in. Really appreciate it that I have you to help me along here. Gunded News will join us as well momentarily. Well, momentarily, I say in about 30 minutes. How have you been feeling, Noe? Um, let's talk about the overall, how you've been feeling about the end of the league campaign. We've definitely bottled it, right? We definitely we turned ourselves into Spurs in the last few games of the league, which is very disappointing. I am going to have Cannon Fodder join me, Alex from Cannon Fodder TV, join me momentarily as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll get into it talking about the Brighton game in particular because that's the one that I did take in. And if you are a regular viewer of the channel, you would have seen my vlog of the Brighton game. But very thankful that you're here, Noe. I appreciate your support once again. Um, the Valencia game, the first leg. So let's get into it. We went a goal down, I believe, and we looked very shaky. We could have gone two goals down. Noe, you will give the season a 6 out of 10 in your opinion. Um, Noe, do you feel that your 6 out of 10 will be improved if we, in fact, win the Europa League final and take a trophy at the end of the season? I completely understand that you're um, rating our season up to date as a 6 out of 10, and that's not a bad score. Um, no, he said because we bottled the top four, but we're in the Europa League final. That's true. So there is something to take heart from there. Um, so the Valencia game, we went a goal down. If you can cast your minds back to that, we very nearly went two goals down. So we had a very shaky first 10 minutes, and then our strikers took over. Okay, no, yeah, I would agree with you. I would also give it a 8 out of 10 if indeed we do win the Europa League, and I'm very confident. Without getting too confident, this season, every time I seem to have gotten too confident due to us playing on Sundays and other teams playing on Saturdays, and every team seemed to trip over themselves, especially Manchester United, which we can laugh about now because of the final league placings, but. Manchester United, Tottenham, Chelsea, they all slipped up and we were laughing and feeling confident. But we didn't take care of our business, especially the last two home league games versus Crystal Palace and Brighton. Oh, thanks, Richard. Richard is also here from Arsenal TV. And Richard would give the Europa, if we win the Europa League, we should give 9 out of 10 for the season. So those are pretty high marks. And funny enough to say, and harshly enough to say, probably that the the outcome of our season is very much dependent on this final game of the season. If we win the Europa League, all of Gooner Nation is going to be happy and feeling good about things moving into the summer. But if unfortunately we don't win the Europa League, it's going to be the exact opposite. So if you would give Emery a 9 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10, that's going to be contingent on winning the Europa League. If in fact we do not win it, which we can't really comprehend at this point, um, the marks would be a lot less, maybe the 5 or 6 region. And that's completely fair as well, because this is what cup finals are all about. You turn up on the day, you play really really well, you win the trophy, and you get applauded for it, or you bottle it and feel the pressure and lose the final. And we're all going to be on tenterhooks now. It's the 18th of May. We have approximately 11 days to the final now, so uh, quite a bit of time to think about things. Alex from Cannon Fodder TV has asked the question: does the fact there are 4 British teams in Europe's top footballing prizes prove that the Premier League is the best in the world? That is a difficult question, Alex. A lot of people would point to the Spanish league being the most technically gifted league, but I do believe results like the table does not lie in the Premier League. I'm going to say um, our our participation, British teams' participation in the Champions League and the Europa League, do not lie as well, and they are there on merit. Um, Unfortunately, Ajax, I will still contend, were inexperienced and didn't play the final few minutes of that game, or maybe even the final half of that game correctly. Inexperience caught up to that young Ajax team, which we all know James Rowe was very, very clued in on and knows a lot about Ajax living on their doorstep. Um, yeah, so unfortunately for Ajax, they did not make it, but that team um, will have a chance again, probably, although some members will leave. Um, so, yeah, we have to say that the results of Liverpool and Tottenham getting to the Champions League final and Arsenal and Chelsea getting to the Europa League final does show a measure of superiority in the football world in Europe right now. So Noe Donis, Ole has taken the wheel back to the Europa League. Yes, very, very true. How many of us were shocked about that Cardiff result at Old Trafford? Quite amazing, really, quite amazing. Um, Alex, Arsenal TV, Alex is believed so, but the question is it a one-off? So Richard is asking, um, is it a one-off in terms of Europe? Um, so I don't know about that. Um, Let me just see if I can send this link once more to um, Alex here. Bear with me, everybody. This is the joys of life. Okay, so yeah, let's cast our minds back to the Valencia game. What did everybody think about the Valencia game? Um, we started out very, very shaky. We did concede a goal. We were 1 goal down to Valencia in the first leg at home, and it took our strikers to come together and basically take the tie by the grip of its neck, and pretty much between them became supply routes to each other, and struck up that partnership again that we know that they have. Um, Aubameyang providing the assist for Lacazette to finish on the 18th minute, and then we were on the way. And after that, there was no way that Valencia were going to come back from that, because we had the bit between our teeth, and we were able to get a 2-1 lead going into the second half. And the second half, I remember, was very, very back and forth, very, very cagey, where are we going to get that extra goal, and where are we going to get that killer goal that we needed. So, but we did in the end from a fine cross from the left-hand side. I think it might have been Ozil and Iwobi involved in that, and Aubameyang finishing from a narrow angle from the side. Uh, from the side. So, Arsenal secured a first leg lead in that Valencia game, a 3-1 lead to take to the Mestalla. And we all wondered a lot, like the Napoli game, if that 2 goal advantage would be enough. With the away goal, it was a dangerous lead to have, but we would go forward against Valencia in the second leg, approximately a week's time from there. From then, bear with me while I'm having some technical difficulties. Now, I want to speak a little bit about the Brighton game. I did have the good fortune to meet up with Alex from Cannon Fodder TV, and I was able to have an interview with Alex from Cannon Fodder TV, and it was a very, very enjoyable interview. We talked about the present of Arsenal Football Club and the immediate future, and then the more distant future. So if you have an opportunity to go check that out with Alex and we had a conversation. That was before the Brighton game. The Brighton game itself was very, very frustrating. Um, the Brighton game itself was very, very frustrating. We all went there with the expectation of our wonderful home record getting us 3 points. We didn't know at the time if 3 points would be enough in the league. As it turned out, it was going to be enough, but we bottled it on the day. We got a decent start through a contentious penalty when Monreal was taken down, and Aubameyang finished with a palm. And we had the opportunity to push on from there, but we were not able to push on from there at all. Um, there was too much of slow play from our midfield. I remember commenting with Alex at the time that the play was just too slow and ponderous. Our midfield did not move the ball quickly enough. So let's just go to some comments now. Hi, London Old School. Thanks for coming in. I do appreciate everybody in here. I got 5 now in the chat room, so that's great. Noe asked, when Valencia scored the first goal, I was so nervous. But then Aubameyang showed his class with an amazing outside foot strike. So that was in the second leg as well, Noe. Yeah, that was a nervous time because we had taken a 3-1 lead to the Mestalla. We then got pegged back with a goal against us. So we had a 3-2 aggregate lead, and we knew if they scored again without us scoring again, it would be a problem. Yeah, that was a fantastic strike. And again, it's just shown how much our strikers have dragged us forward. We really, really imagine what they could do if we had decent midfield behind them and maybe a winger to supply them as well. I think they could score a lot more goals and closer to the 30 range for Aubameyang and closer to the 20 range for Lacazette. More comments here. Alex said, "No, Adonis. Looking at how the 2 semis played out, a game is never over until the final whistle goes." That's true, Alex, and we're going to have to probably have that disciplined approach against Chelsea in the final. I think, and maybe a KG affair. I think Chelsea will start out quite defensively. And London Old School has said, is there anyone going to the final? I believe there's only 2,000 supporters, London Old School, going, and that is only one third of our allocation, which is very limited anyway. 6,000 for each team, and each team is not able to fill the allocation. I wonder if the stadium is even going to be full, and they're probably going to have to sell tickets at a cut rate to bring the locals in. But it seems like a ridiculously um, located geographically venue, if that makes any sense. It's very. It seems very difficult. All of the flights to get in and out of um, Baku seem very difficult, and fraught with many hours of waiting at the airports and connecting through certain flights. So it's going to be difficult for any supporters going. I will tip my hat to any supporters who are going, and I hope that we can hear them and the atmosphere will be decent there. No, Adonis, Aaron Ramsey deserved to get a full stadium send off, but there were a lot of empty seats at the end of the game. Yeah, no, that's something that I wanted to talk about, and it was very disappointing to me. But I do understand the stadium pretty much emptied out. Half of the stadium emptied out immediately, and some of the supporters I was with left almost immediately as well. That's through commitments or whatnot. They had to get home. Some people were actually. I was with a fan from New York who, unfortunately, because of the time change on the venue on the game, he was only able to see the first half. He had to rush off to the airport and get on a flight to go back to New York. So that was unfortunate for him. But no, you're right. Half of the stadium emptied out, and I think that was. I hope that was a direct consequence of us losing top four and people being very frustrated with that. To think that we couldn't get that extra goal or we couldn't even keep a clean sheet against Brighton was kind of very disappointing, very disheartening. I remember I stayed back a little bit to watch the lap of appreciation, and you can always tell if a team has done quite well in the league or they deem that their season has been quite good, that the players will actually walk a little bit closer to the supporters. There was a marked 20 or 30 yard difference between the edge of where the players were walking around the stadium to where the supporters were seated. So you could see um, that the players did not specifically want to get too close to the supporters because it was very disappointing that we couldn't get that extra goal even that we needed against Brighton. It's a team game, so I'm not going to single out any individuals, but um, to not get that extra goal was very disappointing. The team did not play very well, and again, players like Mustafi and Lichtsteiner in the team, it just shows that we really need to change things up this summer. Lichtsteiner and Mustafi should not be names that are going to be on the field this coming season, this next season. So go back into the comments here, and thanks for your comment there, Noe. Yes, Aaron Ramsey did deserve a full send off, and people had said that his tears were crocodile tears. I don't believe that. He has worked and lived there for the last 10 or 11 years. He knows all of the people in the back room, right down to the lady who gives him his cup of tea. So we have to understand that this is a workplace for these players. They go there, they work there, and they develop relationships with people. And when they're leaving a club, it's a very difficult thing to do, such as we all heard stories about Rocky Rocastle crying in the park in the car park. I mean, that was a different situation. He was being sold against as well. But Aaron Ramsey um, shed tears because he loves this club and he has served this club very well. and we need players like Aaron Ramsey to stay more. Uh, Arsenal TV, the second leg, Richard, the second leg versus Valencia. In the first 20 minutes, we were struggling against, especially Ainsley Maitland-Niles on that right side. But in the second half, Torreira helped him, and Aubameyang was on fire. That game, and I've heard some people say the same thing. That game that Aubameyang played in the second leg of Valencia reminded me very, very much of a certain Thierry Henry in his heyday. The type of things that Aubameyang was doing in his overall play was very, very like Henry, dribbling, beating players, combining with other players. We don't usually see that with Aubameyang. He is a pure finisher who relies on other players to assist him in getting his goals. But that night he was on fire, and I really, really believe that these two strikers, Lacazette and Aubameyang, have this mission inside of them to win this Europa League for us. Because let's not forget, Aubameyang was cup tied last year, and he could not play. So that must have been very, very hurtful for him to sit in the stadium, and he could not do anything about what was going on against Atletico Madrid last year. But hopefully, that semi-final has put to bed any bad memories about Atletico Madrid, and hopefully, we do have a coach and we have players who are capable of winning the Europa League and bringing that trophy home for us. And that will be an amazing first season for Unai Emery. Back to the questions here. Thanks everybody for keeping them flowing. London Old School. I looked into it. Flights from Bangkok, 16 hours layover in Doha. Never even heard of that place. Lots of tickets for sale, every level of seats. So what you're saying, London Old School, is that stadium is going to be pretty empty. It'll have the feel of a preseason game almost. I'm going to try to get to the game here in Washington, but I fully know that that will be a preseason game with none of the established players, a lot of the younger players. But yeah, it's going to have that same atmosphere. It's going to feel like a preseason game, but hopefully the atmosphere can come across on the television and we can enjoy the occasion for what it is. But to ask supporters, and there's got to be a contingency plan put in place in future, to ask supporters to travel halfway across the world, from one side of Europe all the way to maybe the other side of Europe. I'm not even sure if it is part of Europe, is ridiculous. And it just does not take into account any sympathy for the fans that have to make that trip. They have to earn the money, they have to spend the money, and they have to make all these accommodations for themselves and take more than one day off, I'm sure. So thanks for that, London Old School. It is quite crazy. Um, Cannon Fodder TV, Alex, question: your thoughts on Mickey being given the all clear by the Azerbaijani FA? I think that's a good thing. And I saw your video earlier, Alex, and you were talking about the same thing, that politics and sports really should not mingle. But unfortunately, it does. We've seen lots of Olympics being impeded by politics and political situation. I think that it's a very, very good gesture by Azerbaijan to clear the Armenian Henrik Mkhitaryan to go. Now, as and when, if Arsenal will make that decision, we're not sure. And all of the murmurings out of Arsenal are that they are not going to risk bringing Henrik Mkhitaryan, who probably in any case would have been a substitution and may have had a, a cameo, if at best, 15, 20 minutes maybe in the second half. So thanks for that question, Alex. We appreciate it. Um, London Old School has said that great that Mickey can travel to Baku. And yes, it is. It's a good thing. Everybody, like we said, politics should not impede sports, and that's a good thing. Um, moving forward on the questions. This is great, everybody. Thank you so much. You are all like my co-hosts right now, and Mahir is probably going to join us. And one thing I wanted to say about Mahir is that I'm going to give him some shade because he knows that he needed to give me a video on the Ice Bucket Challenge because Liverpool unfortunately did not make winning the Premier League this year. And we had an Ice Bucket Challenge going, and I've been waiting a week for him to send the video in. And I've been throwing some shade in his direction. And he's going to hear about it when he calls in as well. But yeah, I'm waiting for that video. That's going to be fun. Um, back to the questions. London Olsko has asked, can you understand that Armenian and Azerbaijan have had a very long conflict? Mickey could be targeted for abuse. Absolutely, and I think that's why the club itself has taken the viewpoint that they're not going to inflame the situation by bringing him. I believe he's going to stay back, and unfortunately, it's a bigger issue, bigger than one person, but that one person's safety is very, very important. No matter how we feel about how he's playing for Arsenal or if we're a fan of him or not, we still have to consider that his safety is paramount. So I'm going to call in Gunda News now because he just got back. Hey, I was just welcome here. Welcome. I was just throwing some shade at you for no Ice Bucket Challenge video yet.
I knew you were going to ban me. I knew it. But I just want everybody to know that it will be done soon. It was a bit of a crazy week. And I was unable to go and find the ice. But there's a bucket of water and ice ready for tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon.
So what you're saying is you can't find any ice there in South Africa?
Yeah, no, it is quite hot, so I will be getting a cool down tomorrow.
All right. Well, we'll all be looking forward to that. Liverpool, Liverpool played quite well. You want to say a few words to Liverpool this season?
Yeah, man. I just wanted to say, yes, I did take the Ice Bucket Challenge. I am a man of my word. It will be done. I do know that, I will get a bit of banter and everything about Liverpool, but I could honestly see Liverpool winning, and it was really tight margins, and they did throw away. I think it was about a 7-point lead, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 7 points.
And it went to the deadline, and eventually they did lose by 1 point. I mean, can you imagine how tight it is or what levels you have to be on in order to compete for the league with Liverpool and Man City, which I think we are still very far away from doing. But if we do make the right investments, hopefully we do get within the next 2 years onto that level.
Yeah, we have a long way to go to reach the levels of Liverpool and Manchester City. Although I always believe in the cycling of clubs, so clubs cycle up to prominence. Like a few years ago, we're now where a few years ago Klopp was and Pep Guardiola were. So, do you see any hope for us in the next 3 to 5 years, Mahir?
Oh yes, plenty of hope. Like I always believe in Emery. There are a lot of deluded gooners right now. Like they are saying that we should sell the likes of an Aubameyang, sell the likes of a Lacazette so we can strengthen the team. But the main thing that's hampering us, if I'm actually honest with you guys, is wages. If we can move a lot of the highest paid, more like the dead wood out of our squad, as controversial as is somebody like like the likes of Ozil, Mkhitaryan is being paid 200,000 per week. Deadwood like El Neni, the Lichtsteiners, the Peter Czechs, are retiring. We're losing Aaron Ramsey. So if we can do that and put those right investments in quality players such as Hakim Ziyech from Ajax, Tagliafico from Ajax, Kieran Tierney from Celtic. We could even go into those names. I've been personally playing Football Manager today and adding these additions into the squad to see how next season would pan out against some of the lower league and top league teams.
I'm just going through the comments. Richard did say that he said it would go to the last day of the season. Liverpool did push Manchester City all the way.
Which is fantastic. You always want to see the best league in the world, which is the Premier League. I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me. The teams being competitive for that top spot. For the title.
Yeah. Do you want to comment about a question that was mentioned earlier, maybe by Alex, that does Liverpool, Spurs, Arsenal, and Chelsea getting to the finals of Europe mean that the standard of football now is the best in England?
Okay, the likes of Chelsea, no. We are with us Gunners, with Arsenal, the team we support, no. We need much more. We need to give Emery much more time. Hopefully he's already realized the players that need to be going out and the players need to come in, because the transfer window has opened, as all our subscribers, new and old, probably know by now. And what other team? Tottenham. For a team that we'd hate to see, like, we are becoming Liverpool fans for the final. So
yeah, we're all.
I don't see any other teams. Banta FC, I don't think they get anywhere near, because they are even in worse shambles than the rest of us.
Yeah, but the question, I think, is the fact that all English teams got to finals. Does that mean that the game is in good stead in England versus Spain?
Yes, most definitely.
Is it the best?
Could you imagine?
Is it the best league in the world now?
Yes. Could you imagine this is the start of something new, where English sides are actually taking dominance over European competitions, such as the Europa League and Champions League, as we've seen this season. Because if this is the start of English domination, I'm up for it, because I'm all for it.
Well, I'm going to give you a history lesson now, Mahir, because back in the late 70s, and early 80s, the British teams were dominant in Europe, winning everything in sight. And because of the Heysel Stadium disaster and the subsequent ban, that the English teams were not prominent then. So they were doing it back in the 80s and late 70s.
Yes, way before the likes of myself, like a younger generation, like before we were born.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't get to see, but through knowledgeable people such as yourself, such as the likes of some of our special guests that we've had on, they let us know of these things, and that's a very beautiful thing for us to be given that knowledge of what happened, like disasters, and possible other things that could have hampered, the domination, like I say, of specific competitions, or all European competitions, and even the likes of the league, our league.
So, Liverpool were unfortunate against Manchester City. Could you believe Manchester City just won like 13 or 14 games in a row?
We've discussed it before. We've said if we were, back then, in the early 2000s, were not to sell some of our star players to mostly our rivals, because if you look at it, Man City's nicked half of our star players. Barcelona's nicked a few of our star players. Some of our players have even gone to the other side of London, into Chelsea. Um, if we were just to invest one quality player worth maybe 50 to 60 mil, at that time, I mean, it was much lower. Every year until now, we could have had a squad full of world-class depth, such as the likes of a Man City.
Yeah, yeah. Richard says we only had ourselves to blame, as it proves we're still mentally weak-minded individuals at this club for the end of our league campaign.
Most definitely, it's a mentality thing. We've said it many times. We've discussed with Noe, with Richard, with basically everybody, London old school, everybody.
Yeah.
This mentality issue. Why are we losing away from home, but we can put up performances against a Valencia or a Napoli, and I mean, be just the Arsenal of old times, you know?
I did a video the other day, and I'm sort of reaching into the future. If we do win the Europa League, we can possibly sign some new players, and a centre back. We all know we need a midfielder and a winger, but I also think that Unai Emery will have that breathing room. Let's talk about, if we win the Europa League, how much extra, how much the pressure will be taken off of Emery. He'll have a little bit more time to do what he needs to do. You know what I mean?
Will have taken a lot. I love that point. I love that
If you win a trophy, then you get some breathing room to do what you really want this summer.
Yes, what you really want to do. You know, the funny thing is, I was watching a video from League Huna, and I think maybe I might have shared it, where he's actually discussed or given us further information of, is Stan Kroenke the actual problem? Because we were saying, get Stan Kroenke out. Why isn't this guy backing our manager with money? And what he actually discussed was the problem was the high wage bill. We, even if Stan Kroenke were to pull out 200 million, I don't know how true it is. I'm just informing you guys of something extra that may seem very interesting that you guys might want to look into. But even if he were to give us 200 million, with the high wage bill, with us first having to move out players on, like the likes of Mkhitaryan, 200,000 per week. The likes of Ozil, as you all know, 350,000 per week. And some of the debut players called Jenkinson, the Almanis, and then therefore be able to spend more because even wages will be cut down or cut out, or cut down basically to a lower amount where we can go out and maybe sign 2-3 more players, of quality that want to fight for the badge.
Yeah.
So they will be remembered for the name on their back.
Yeah. I want to make an announcement as well. We brought this show forward one day for two reasons. One, that I've been away for a couple of weeks, so maybe you're starved of some content for everybody. But also, secondly, tomorrow we're going to have a special guest on, a sports psychologist. I'm hoping to get on for tomorrow's show, that we can delve into the mentality of a professional footballer and maybe get some interesting aspects as to how we have not performed, particularly away from home. And we sort of bottled it as well at the end of this season for our last two home league games versus Crystal Palace and Brighton. So what do you have to say about that, Gondish?
It was absolutely shocking. I mean, the last time we spoke before you went on a slight break was that the drop in mentality is, I mean, it was ridiculous because we could have, in all fairness, last time we spoke, within the week, it was literally 2 games that we just had to win. And right now, with Tottenham and Chelsea dropping points even in the last game of the season, we could have been sitting in third, which would have taken a little bit more pressure of having to win the Europa. But personally, I would love to see us lift the first European trophy in my lifetime. That I can celebrate as a Guna. We can celebrate as uh, as the Guna family, basically. You know.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to go to the Brighton game and watch the game alongside Alex, and we saw a palpable mentality and the pressure getting to the players, especially later in the second half when we were pressing and trying to get that goal that we needed. Aubameyang missed a gilt-edged chance, and Brighton were catching us on the break. What was your perception of that game?
I saw it exactly the same way you saw it, only that I saw it on TV and all the way from South Africa.
Yeah.
A lot of teams have figured us out when it comes to counter-attacking, where they will find a weakness, either whether it's through the center, there are two center backs, and if we're having an off day, and for instance, like one of our best center backs is Socrates. If Socrates is having a bad day, we are going to be in trouble, or whoever's going to be alongside Mustafi, even though I probably think he will be shipped out for whatever amount of money. I will also myself drive from South Africa to pick him up wherever he is and drive him or leave him in Baku when we go for the final. After the celebration, just be like, okay, my guy, this is where we cut all ties. So yeah. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking in the chat section, and I'm really happy everyone's chatting amongst themselves here. That's great. It is the Arsenal fan circle. But Richard has said, Alex, think about it. Chelsea and United and Spurs all lost games, which we should have won to take third place. But as I said, we only have ourselves to blame, and we had so many chances. And I'm looking at the final league table, and third place is 72 points. You'll never see that again. Fourth place is 71 points. It's such a low bar that we should have hit.
To be honest with you, Ray, to be honest with all our subscribers, it is absolutely ridiculous. Because when we last spoke, I was saying, look here, guys, all we need to do, we can seal Champions League by the end of this week. All we need to do is beat two teams.
Yeah.
Two teams. You can throw it, if you want to say Brighton, or if you want to say Crystal Palace, or even go way back, even go 2 games or 3 games before that. I think the likes of Everton.
The Everton game. Yep. Yeah.
If you want to throw it as far back as that, all we needed to do was win just 2 games. I think out of the remaining 6 or 7. 3 if you want to be safe. But I'm just saying 2. Because at that current time, those who shall not be named and that other scumbags in the blue were literally slipping up and giving us an opportunity every week for 3-4 weeks, and it's just amazing how we couldn't capitalize.
And London Old School said if we can't beat Brighton at home, mentality is definitely a problem. So hopefully that's something we can address in tomorrow's episode as well, London Old School, if you want to come along and join us for tomorrow as well. Hopefully we can get some information from a sports psychologist's point of view and just sort of delve into it a little bit deeper in that way.
And try to understand basically more about the situation.
Yeah. We try to put ourselves in the shoes of a professional football player and the pressures that they have. Do they have pressures? Do they have the same kind of pressures that everyone else does have? These are the kind of questions I might ask tomorrow.
Yeah.
Cannon Fodder said so. None of these players had people challenging for their positions. Gone the news. They're all comfortable.
Yes. That's one other thing. They're all far too comfortable. I mean,
They all,
during the Wenger era, Wenger was a almost like a dad figure, if you understand, if you get my drift.
yeah,
We he put his arm around them and says, "Don't worry, everything is fine. He won't go out there and slate the players for any reason. He won't be too ruthless. He's just too caring to do that." And unfortunately, that hampered the progress of a lot of players.
yeah.
I mean, for example, our most valuable player, if you think about it, it's actually Lacazette. What actually happened with Lacazette last year? A lot of the time, Wenger didn't want to play Lacazette.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to play Lacazette.
And he would play 60, 65, 70 minutes and be taken off.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. And you don't actually blame strikers because they want to play the full entire game. I mean, there could just be one guilty chance for us to just win 1-0, and he's not on the pitch. Instead, he likes of a they're not on the same level.
Yeah.
Like Danny Welbeck and like I said, at all.
No, not at all.
What I'm saying is,
I would actually say, Mahir, I would actually say Lacazette has shown the temperament needed because last season didn't go so well for him under Arsene Wenger. And even parts of this season when Emery was taking him off, he showed the right mentality, the right attitude to turn things around and become our player of the year this season.
Yes, but do you know how much we love that guy? Do you know how much we love that guy?
The fans can clearly see the players that are caring about the club and want to do good things this year. And they can see the players who want to blame a goalkeeper for his own mistake, such as the Crystal Palace game.
That was
Mustafi.
Stupidity on a level. That was stupidity on a level. That's Mustafi pulling a Mustafi, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if you want to take it quite literally, in the workplace when a mistake happens, right? Mm-hmm. You only have yourself to blame if it was your fault. You have to take responsibility. The same goes on the field. You can't be blaming somebody else for your mistake constantly. And there was a compilation clip of Mustafi that actually went viral. Everybody's seen it now. I'm sure all Gooners have seen that clip. But they basically put all of his errors and mistakes into one clip. And it's ridiculous. It's like each match, 3 mistakes or 2 mistakes. And at least one of them a major mistake leading to a goal.
Yeah.
So
I saw that.
I pray for.
I saw that as a senior. He is a senior player who has somehow he's won the World Cup with Germany somehow, and he's a senior player, and he's trying to blame a goalkeeper in his first season for his own mistake, and I think that's unforgivable. For me, that's unforgivable.
Yes, unforgivable. For me, that is unforgivable. I'm sure everybody else, even in the chats, will say that is also unforgivable. Like I'm saying, literally, workplace, your own mistake, you pointing fingers to somebody else. Obviously, your boss is going to come to you and say, listen here, I don't need people like you I didn't need to employ people like you. And you could get fired for it. That's exactly what's happening, but on the football pitch in a professional setting, which is absolutely ridiculous.
So, Alex from Cannon Fodder TV and London Old School are talking, and they say, look at what happened against Burnley. All the pressure was off, and we win quite comfortably 3-1 on the last day of the season.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. Like, that's what happens when you take the shackles off certain players. I was laughing, but I don't want to overdo it too much with banter FC, as we do know that is. But allowing player power also to get you or favoritism is a big mistake. You cannot be doing that. But Emery's a no-nonsense type person, and I would love. I've already got names. Like I've already thrown a few names at you guys for centre backs. And can I give you guys an interesting fact? There was a video that was posted or somebody sent it in a group that we have full of gooners. And basically, it was an interview with two Ajax players, Hakim Ziyech, and there was another player.
Yeah.
And he was asked,
Clivert.
interesting, he was asked by his colleague, he's another player on the field, who would, if there were any clubs you wanted to move to, two clubs. Mm-hmm. So the guy, and so Ziyech said, Barcelona or an Arsenal, personally. Yeah. And I was like, it creates a little bit more excitement. It creates a little bit of excitement for us and a little bit of hope that these guys do look up to these big teams. I mean, he said it would be his dream move to either club. And personally, I think it's realistic that we can get somebody like Ziyech in our team.
And that just shows you we still have that appeal to attract players. But we need to get back to Champions League as well, because Arsenal has been synonymous in the last 15, 20 years of playing good football and being a good, stable environment for a footballer to come to and flourish. Hey, if you're a new person in here, ask questions, mingle with everyone else. Thanks for coming in. We have 6 people in chats now, so that's great. But Arsenal is still a destination that players want to come to, Mahir.
Yeah, you know the funny thing is, can you believe if I think about it now, yes, I was finger out for at least about 3 years or 4 years. But can you believe in all the time that he was with us, barring, I think it was 2 seasons, barring 1 or 2 seasons, we were in the Europa League, we were in the Champions League with players like Chamak and Bentner, and it's only sad. I know we look at it now and we say, yes, Alexis was a snake. He only moved for the money and the fee. But look how he's doing now. But the thing to me that was sad is that we couldn't have invested at that time and brought in players so that the likes of an Alexis could stay around. Because can you picture this right now, right? Having an Alexis, an Aubameyang, a Lacazette, a Torreira behind them, a goalkeeper, Socrates, some of these new signings that are going to come in and fight for the badge and fight for, basically everything that we are as a club. Yeah. The Arsenal, bring back the Arsenal, and it's just sad. I mean, right now I'm picturing that squad and I'm like, that would be mad. Like I honestly think at the time, like next season, when we bring in new players, that if an Alexis was in the squad as well, who knows where we could have, what heights we could have gone to.
Yeah, we were at a breaking point. We had Alexis and Ozil, who in some ways they worked very well together because Ozil provided the ammunition for Alexis to create the magic in some ways, but because of the negotiations of wages, we couldn't have kept both of them on the wage bill. So, and not perhaps, we have mistreated. A lot of our contracts have been mistreated over the last 2 years. But I have a couple of questions for you, Gundon News. And just one comment from Alex first. He thinks that the Lacazette became more accustomed to the English Premier League. At first, it was his stamina, which was not up to scratch. And that's a fair point. Another comment from Alex is I want you to weigh in on this, Mahir. We must get rid of the 5 captains policy. That's something that Richard agrees with as well. Ozil is not of captain material, and he is one of the 5 captains. So, do you agree with that? And who would you nominate to be captain and vice captain?
I'm very tempted actually to give Lacazette captaincy. It may be controversial, but I just thought about it now. Like, he's just got this fight in him, I would love to give actually captain, if I'm being honest with you, to Socrates for next season. Mm-hmm. And vice captain would also be one of the leaders. So I would say the likes of a Lacazette. I can't honestly think of anybody else.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. When you said Lacazette, he's of course a striker, and I was thinking maybe everyone knows that Gary Lineker or Alan Shearer. I think they were captains at certain points in their careers, but everyone sees maybe a midfielder or a defender as being the ideal captain material in and of itself. But that's a good shout for Lacazette because he really does care, and I think he really does want to win. You know.
They were saying during the last game of the season, right? They kept chanting his name, and you know how much we love him. So, and they said he had the biggest smile on his face, rubbishing all these Barcelona rumors and saying, "No, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I want to fight for this team that I am playing for.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm extremely happy where I am." And us fans, we couldn't picture where we are today without Lacazette.
When you're talking about captain, it's quite easy actually because half of the team we need to get rid of. So that reduces the amount of candidates down to, well, you're correct. You and Richard are correctly saying. Good shout, Richard, for Socrates. And Richard has convinced me over the season about Socrates. I agree with that. Let's make him the captain. Well, he also mentioned Lacazette. So hats off to Richard for changing my mind on that one from the beginning of the season.
Of course. And to be honest with you, if you look at if we like moving on half of the dead wood and squad, who else really is left? There's really nobody left. Guendouzi is what we call a lighty. He's still a small boy, basically.
Yeah.
He's a youngster. Torreira has just come in. He hasn't warranted that big jump from a no-name player to like a worldie, basically, or world beater. Like that, we can say this guy can be our captain.
What does everybody think about? At the beginning of the season, everyone was rightly talking about Torreira playing really, really well. So much so that we were worried about the bigger teams coming to look for him. But we're all kind of maybe happy he had that dip in form that the likes of Manchester City and Barcelona or Real Madrid might not come looking for a Torreira, and we get to keep him for another couple of seasons as well.
Look, to be honest with you, I wasn't scared of. I was just thinking maybe a Man City could come in and get him like a replacement for Fernandinho. But then again, I think it was burnout. The reason I think so, because he's still adjusting. I mean, it's his first season with us.
Yeah.
He's first adjusting.
Coming from
the physical aspect.
Italian league that's a little bit slower, more technical, not as physical. So we definitely needed to adjust.
And they do get long breaks as well. Say, for instance, I think there's a winter break that they don't play for 2 months or 3 months. Something along those lines.
Let me ask you a question, and then after my question, I've got a question from Alex from Cannon Fodder. But my question first is, it's 2-2 in the Europa League final going into the last few minutes of normal time. Who do you want to score that winning goal for Arsenal to finish the season off? I'm going to pick Torreira. I want to see a Torreira lightning bolt.
I don't know, maybe you read my mind because I was just about to say Torreira, like it was on the tip of my tongue.
Well, we've just been talking about it.
And then, actually, personally, I would love Lacazette.
Yeah.
I sound a little bit biased every time I say Lacazette, but
no, I mean he's our.
Certain people they just deserve it all, man. Like
he's our player of the year for a reason, And Alex said Lacazette as well.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? It may sound like, since we're talking about Lacazette, that we would give him captaincy and stuff, but there's certain people and there's certain players that deserve it all, man. Like, seriously, I honestly thought, I see you guys were talking about Mickey earlier before, while I was away.
Yeah.
And personally, I wanted Mickey to succeed, but it's just that it's not the same, man.
Hasn't happened.
When you get to your 30s or your 29,
Yeah.
29, 30, 31s,
Yeah.
the decline seems to be very steep sometimes.
Yeah.
Or just doesn't work out. I mean, I watched Robbie and DT discuss player ratings for the season, and I think they gave Mickey, I think it was about a 6. And to be all honesty, that's I would even say a 5 out of 10.
I think 6 is generous, for sure.
Oh, 6 is being generous.
Yeah.
I was thinking personally more of a 5 because I really honestly, we still got the better deal though. That Snake, he like totally disappeared. I think he's only got 1 goal for United, and that's about it versus us.
Let me catch up on a few comments from London Old School, and then we'll give you that question from Alex. A couple of comments from London Old School. He would give Socrates the armband out of the existing players, or if we do buy a player in the transfer market who can walk into that role. And then also London Old School says he's a traditionalist. It is better to have a midfielder or a centre back as captain. And Godin is a great player, but 32 years old. Now, let me get you.
That's a brilliant shout, also.
Godin, yeah. Let me get to Alex's question. Thanks, Alex. You've probably been waiting patiently for this. Question for Gunded News. In your opinion, has the season been an improvement, or is it the same old Arsenal?
It's been an improvement. Thank you, Alex, for that question. We do really appreciate questions from all of you guys. My answer to that would be yes, it's been an improvement. I've seen improvement. I've seen improvement in players such as Iwobi. Iwobi's improved massively since the last season where we were going to sell him, in all honesty. Who else? I mean, you've just seen more fight. You've seen Emery trying new tactics and getting the almost his philosophy onto the players to say, listen here, we are one of the biggest clubs in the world, and despite our injuries and everything else, I think it's been a success with what he has right now. To even, people in the beginning of the season were giving up on Arsenal, saying, Arsenal, I'm never going to make it in the top 6 this year. But we've pushed so hard under Emery. It's just beautiful. And it's just a shame that we couldn't do that in the league, like away from home. If you realize, we actually had a lot of injuries, man. That's the sad thing, the heartbreaking thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, do you blame Unai Emery for the collapse at the end of the season, or do you blame more of the players?
The players. Also, Emery has to take blame also. Like, you can't not blame Emery because he was chopping and changing a lot of... If something works, leave it alone. Occasionally make 1 or 2 changes. Like, for example, some of the games he was making some very beautiful substitutions in order to close off a game or in order to totally change the game. Like, say, for instance, the likes of Lacazette or the likes of an Aubameyang will tie an opposition out with his pace and his dribbling. And during the last, or even at halftime, he says, right, Aubameyang come off because I got this physical bully who's also a warrior that wants to give his all. So just be patient, come off.
Yeah.
Let Lacazette do his work, and look how it plays. And it actually pays off. Even if a game is like we win it a 1-0, goal by 1 goal.
On your point about Iwobi, Alex has said that he's not so sure that Iwobi has improved. I tend to agree with Alex what he's saying. Not so sure that Iwobi has improved too much. We've seen some improvement, but we need to see more. He is probably, I would class him as a squad player because we're going to bring in some players this season that are maybe better than him. What do you think?
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and I totally agree with everybody that's asking us questions, which we love because
Now,
we can give you guys a little bit of what we know.
another
But if
thing,
you ask me personally, I would actually sell Iwobi. Right now, I'm playing Football Manager. Iwobi is on my transfer list.
another thing that I mentioned in the video that I just did, what life could be like if we win the Europa League. I think that Unai Emery will be more open to opening up the team to younger players, and those we have a great squad of younger players that are ready to come through and ready to take over and do well in the team and complement them with our better players. We could have a hell of a team next season.
That's exactly what I was thinking as well. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about like the likes of people who are returning, and Emil Smith Rowe, Eddie Nketiah, who's been featured here and there, possibly Saka. Reece Nelson is one of those players.
Yeah. Maybe even Callum Chambers, although I don't think something weird went on there. I don't think that the coach really is in favor of Callum Chambers, but you can't tell me that he would not have done worse than Mustafi.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
Ray, to be honest with Callum Chambers, I think needs to be moved on. Fulham fans are they quite rate Callum Chambers. Not not in the back line though, as a defensive midfielder.
Yeah.
But personally, I think we should move him on.
Well,
I wouldn't even keep him as a squad player because we've got the likes of Rob Holding, who I love.
Yeah. But could he do a job? Could Callum Chambers do a job in midfield better than Elneny did?
Oh hell yes! Hell yes!
So why not sell?
As a squad player.
Why not sell Elneny? Get whatever you're going to get for him, 5 or 10 million, and bring Callum Chambers to perform that role. You're saving yourself some money.
Look, we do have. I heard apparently the budget will be going up from the supposed 40 million to at least 100 million if we manage to get into Champions League, which I believe we will do. I believe we will beat those come from the other side of London on the 29th of May. I'm hoping that the game is actually after prayers because in this month of Ramadan, where the Muslims fast, basically what happens is we've got nighttime prayers. That's why I was only able to join you guys right now. But I think the game will be broadcast here at about 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, which is a perfect time for me. I would love to actually do a live watch along where we will be watching. You guys will, everybody will be watching the game with us, and commenting and getting excited, checking the formations and.
Yeah, we're gonna do we're gonna do a watch along for the final, and anybody is welcome to join us as you see the expression of joy, horror, disgust, fear, shock on our faces, all of that stuff. if you can stand it.
We haven't done a watch. Yeah, we did everything, all emotions,
and tension
in 1.5 hours. Tension,
pressure,
disgust, anger, extreme happiness, pressure, everything. I think it's actually a brilliant idea that we put it up now because a lot of people have. I mean, even on Gundit News, I love that everybody's come to my channel as well. That's also our channel, just by the way.
Good.
But like I've been doing watch-alongs, during the game you'll like see all the emotions that we go through, and like I'll be talking to fellow subscribers, even from the Arsenal fan circle, even from this channel of ours, our podcast.
Join us on the 29th of May. We're going to have a watch along. Join us for the final of the Europa League.
Fantastic. Please, all fellow Gooners, if you hear this, please join us. We want to know how you guys feel during the game, when we celebrate goals. I'm sure you guys will see some fantastic celebrations from the two of us, and we'd love to also hear from you guys, thoughts during the game. And
2-2 going into the last few minutes of the game, and Lacazette, or Torreira scores.
Oh my! Seems either way, limbs flying all over the place. People being picked up and thrown nose down if you're sitting in the stadium. I'm
Hey.
saying this is exactly what happened. I'm just over exaggerating.
So Richard said he thinks it's been an improvement this season in some areas, but we do need to address the away form, which needs to change, obviously. And hopefully that's something, Richard, that I can delve into tomorrow with the sports psychologist as well. I'm really excited about that show tomorrow. So hopefully that can happen as well.
Most definitely.
But I think change personality you might be able to bring in some players who have that mentality already within them. But we'll delve into that more tomorrow. Cannon Fodder TV says we have really missed Bellerin and Holding.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. One thing that I would love Bellerin to do when he comes back is to cut his hair to the old school Bellerin and return to that Bellerin, because I mean that guy was like he's an experienced player. He's an experienced player, but at the same time one of those young bowlers, almost like a prospect, but that's coming to form. That's coming to form, as per se.
You know,
if he can cut out all the fashion week stuff and wearing pajamas out and expressing himself in other things on social media, I think he would be a fantastic player.
I have one interesting piece of information about Bellerin. Outside of Lacazette and Aubameyang, he is our highest assister. He has had the highest assists outside of Lacazette and Aubameyang this season.
I see. I wish Kolasinac was also on that level, because when we got him from Schalke, from the Bundesliga, he was one of the top assisters, and especially coming to the last third, which was discussed in other podcasts, he's crossing. It easily hits the first person, or it hits people in the east stand, north stand.
Let me ask you. Can I ask you a question about Kolasinac?
Please.
Previous years under Arsene Wenger, he would actually score 4 or 5 goals a season. This last season, he's not really gotten himself into any goal scoring positions. He's been asked more or less to feed the ball into Lacazette and Aubameyang. Have you noticed that?
Can I bring up an interesting point? Him and Iwobi, right? The final third, the ball in the final third is of panic. It's of indecision, indecisiveness.
Yeah.
Basically,
especially Iwobi.
Do I shoot? Yeah, especially Iwobi.
Let me just say, they're indecisive in different ways. Iwobi feels he doesn't know what he wants to do, whereas Kolasinac fires the ball in, not even trying to find the person. You know?
Kolasinac has a left cannon, like one of our cult heroes. He wasn't a superhero, but he was a cult hero to me personally.
Podolski.
I used to love him. You took the words right out of my mouth, right there. Baldy,
yeah.
Baldy today is still a gunner.
Yeah.
He's a cult hero.
Yeah.
He's got a left foot just like Baldy. If he can capitalize on that final third, and I mean, I wish Iwobi also does the same thing. Otherwise, he could possibly be moved on or possibly be used further as a squad player. I'm playing Football Manager at the moment, and to be honest with you, the team I've even put as right now I've got Socrates, and I've got on the left hand side where Kolasinac is, actually got Kieran Turney from Celtic, and along with Socrates, I've got a Tagliafico, these are realistic guys. I'm just letting you know. A Tagliafico from Ajax.
Yeah. Good player.
And I've got Bellerin on the right hand side. Torreira, obviously Guendouzi's there. On our wings, I've got a Madison in the midfield as well. Can you picture that? I've got Ryan Fraser and Carrasco on our wings. Oberlaka up front. And possibly like a James Rodriguez or Isco, as unrealistic as that sounds, or
I think there's only one team in the
replacements.
Premier League that can do that, my here, and that's Manchester City. You know?
Nah, fam. You know what? To be honest with you, with the centre backs that I mentioned and the left back that I mentioned, which is Kieran Tierney and
Yeah,
Tagliafico, are very realistic targets.
yeah.
The same with the likes of Frazier, although they are trying to say it's a gamble worth taking. I think it'll cost about 20 million. Are you willing to take that gamble on Frazier?
Yeah, I would.
Personally,
I would.
it's gonna cost us like 20 million.
Well,
And what's a gamble?
I would also go for Pepe instead of Zaha. You know, because it's going to be
Um,
cheaper. We're talking about astronomical
unfortunately,
money though, which won't happen. You know.
unfortunately, yes, Pepe and Zaha, they were quoting 100 million. They were saying we in the lead for that. That's unrealistic. The most I would be willing to pay for Zaha is 35 million. And
So what I might just and we're sort of formulating how our channel is going to work right now for everybody.
yeah,
Maybe you're going to do a segment through the week about transfers, a 2 or 3 minute, 4 minute segment. Would everyone like to see that from Gunded News?
please let me know. Please let me know because I would love to just, the way the chemistry that we have and with our subscribers also that have been following us since day one on the podcast. Yeah, we love answering questions and wanting to know, what we can do to improve. We could possibly be like, I'd love to hear if you guys would love a 4 minute section or 3 minute section or 10 minutes on just transfers, or like a 5 minute every second day on possible transfers if it's realistic or not.
Because to be honest, I think you like to do that, and you would be better at doing that than me. I think it'd be a good segment. You know.
I mean, I could even discuss it with you, with our subscribers.
Yeah.
You know,
maybe a 5 or 10 minute segments in the show as well. You know.
Yeah, I mean, imagine just this, but I'm just picturing it now. Seeing
But
videos.
there is one video you have to make before that. You know that, right?
Yeah. You're not gonna let it go until you actually see me freezing. Yeah, freezing. Which is I was actually gonna do it this afternoon. But then I'd actually gone out to go see to a few things.
Yeah.
And by the time I got back, it was late. They were nearly breaking fast. And
listen,
we were ready to basically go to mosque.
Listen, so, yeah. I probably won't have a co-host if I don't have a video by this time next week. So I'll be looking for I'd be looking for a new co-host.
Can you guys hear this guy? Can you hear the host of the show threatening me?
Oh, let's move on. London Old School said Sterling was poor in his last third, but under Pep he improved. He would give Iwobi, and we have talked about this, give Iwobi one more season, and if he doesn't improve big time next year, we'd sell him. I can't disagree with that. I think that's a good shout.
Yeah, possibly what you could do is if Zaha's close, if they want 100 million for him, you could possibly offer Iwobi 30 million cash and see if you can get away with it.
Yeah, he might. He may be used. You're right. That's a good call. He may be used as a make weight in a transfer. We're going to have to,
especially for the
as a club, and we have to find out if we have the personalities because everything's now on Raul Sanyehi. If you want to speak about Raul for a minute, everything's going to be on him this summer, and people seem to think it's all Emery. No, Raul Sanyehi is the guy who's going to get the deals done, and he's been keeping his powder dry all the way through January, which we should have signed somebody on a free anything other than Dennis Suarez during January. They
were actually saying it was the biggest waste of time since Kim Kallstrom, which is
If we had signed one defender, we would have probably, if we'd signed anybody, we would, other than Dennis Suarez, who didn't get a shot or a chance, we would have gained extra points or, reduced the amount of goals against us.
Who was that guy? Who was that player we were linked to from that formerly played for United? Johnny Evans.
Johnny Evans, yeah.
As much as we hate getting reject players, basically, as
Yeah.
we say, but I would have taken Johnny Evans. I would have honestly taken a Johnny Evans. Surely there was anybody that you could have taken that would have given us more results than the error-prone Mr. Mustafi.
Yeah. So good call, Richard. You're probably you and Richard think alike. You have the same input. 35 million plus the Wobie for Zaha. So that's a good shout, Richard. Um, wow. I'm loving this show now. I will admit I got off to a shaky start, and thanks to everybody in the comments, Noe, London Old School, Richard, and Alex, you all helped me along now. And now I've got my co-host, even if it's just for one more week. He's helping me out now.
Back again.
Back again. All right, so Richard said, I know I told you in a tweet, but I had a feeling that Palace would want 70 million for Zaha, but I'm also hearing Palace are wanting 100 million for him. Basically, Palace are trying to price out everybody from Zaha, right?
Yes, but they discussed it already about saying I don't think United will, as much as we hate Band FC, the voice being Band FC to us.
I think United have bigger problems than a winger right now.
Yes.
If you saw what happened,
it would be a waste. It would be a total waste for us. We can use 100 million actually buy 30 million players. And if you think about it, there is a few bargains, or like I say, a Frazier, a Tagliafico. These players are all costing around. They'll cost less than that, much less than that, maybe like a 20.
Yeah.
So you can go out and go get 4 players or 5 players on 100 million. Even adding in wages. If you guys didn't know, wages is actually set for 250 per year, 250 million, which is the reason why we were saying let's get rid of the likes of Ozil.
Yeah.
Because Ozil just hasn't done it. Ozil unfortunately just hasn't done it.
I mean, Ozil is a player who's on his decline right now, and there are only certain games that he can play. Probably 40% of our games he can play, and most of them are at home and against lower opposition teams as well. That's just the fact, and that's just the way it is. And we have to see if the player power is going to win out this summer, and he's going to sit out his next 2 years on that fat contract, or if we can possibly move Ozil on. That's another big job for the club to do this summer.
There isn't a lot of clubs that Ozil can actually go to.
There's not a lot of clubs. That's true. It's true.
It's the same like Alexis. Basically, they're in the same boat. Where it just hasn't worked out.
And we're really
like it's been a flop.
We're really bad at transfers as well. We used to be decent at it. We seem to buy high and sell low, and that's not any kind of economic, basic economics. Doesn't work for the club like that. A common for London Old School: we can beat Valencia and Napoli away, but we melt down against Wolves and Leicester away.
That's the scary thing about going into the Europa League final against Chelsea. Are we going to see our beloved Arsenal, or are we going to see the Jekyll and Hyde Arsenal?
Do you think the players, and this is something maybe we can delve into tomorrow as well, do you think the players will see that as an away game?
I would have to say they need to look at it as an away game and not go into it with the mentality that going to the mentality of like, do you remember when Liverpool nearly won the league and they slipped up to Chelsea, right?
Yes.
Did you see how much motivation was going into Gerrard talking to his team at the beginning of that match?
Yes.
I'm just picturing it now when they all got into a circle and he was saying, right guys, we've got this, let's do this.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for his slip, one mistake that we,
Cost
as
them.
humans, I mean, we make mistakes. None of us are perfect,
Yeah.
but the fight was there. They wanted it. It's only that Gerard happened to slip at the worst time possible, and Demba Ba basically had to run a free run at the goalkeeper one on one. And in those situations, there are these players that we do know that's a goal. You can like tell from the beginning of it.
But
Gerard slip.
Mahir,
Demba Ba's through the goal.
Mahir, to be fair, it is a neutral venue. It's a cup final, European Cup final.
True.
It's a neutral venue. It's going to be the same for Chelsea as it will be for us. You think that somehow we'll be impeded by that?
I don't, like I said, it just depends on what Arsenal shows up. Is our beloved Arsenal showing up? The one with, the likes of a Socrates and, all the players fighting for each other, especially if you were to put yourself in their shoes, right? You are fighting not for the fans, not for your coach.
Mm-hmm.
You're fighting for your pride. Pride and your brothers on the pitch.
Yeah.
Because they are brothers. I mean,
Well, here's the thing as well. When you're old and crickety and you can't play football anymore, you want to open up a drawer and show some medals to have for your career.
Exactly. Imagine being able to tell your family and your future grandkids and your kids that your father now has a statue in his beloved, the club that he played for, and he's got now a statue or a stand named.
Do you think any of this team will have a statue at the end of their career with Arsenal?
I am really praying and hoping that Lacazette and Socrates becomes.
So we have to find somebody. It's somebody better than a Tony Adams or a Thierry Henry or a Dennis Bergkamp, right?
On that same level. They don't have to be. They don't have to be exactly the same, but on that level, even 2-3 years down the line, even like I'm saying, for example, our kids take over Arsenal fan circle and Gambit News, and the new generation comes in. Maybe our nieces or nephews or whoever, and we get them to support the same club. And they have the same love, and they like, till today I can tell you. At that time I'll be like,
and to be fair,
like I said, and Aubameyang back in our days, and even like now, look where our club is. We've got these players who can get on that level, and be just like the righties and the Tony Adams and the Bergkamps and the
everybody remembers that team in 1994. So that's what these players are playing for, to be remembered in the same way. Because who knows when we're going to win, when we're going to have an opportunity to win a European trophy again. Maybe another few years after this. So let's grab it with both hands. Let's take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Look, do you know how excited I am? Like, I'm counting down the days until the end of this bloody weekend, and so I can see what's going to happen. I mean, like I say, for the younger generation, for those who weren't able to see us win a double and see the invincible seasons and go back on these things, which a lot of older Gooners can do, I would love to see this in front of my eyes and witness, so that even in a few years I can say, I actually saw my beloved team lift a European trophy.
Mahir.
Even East Europa League, which is, the second biggest competition aside from the Champions League.
Mahir, what did you see in the second leg versus Valencia? I could take that first if you want, or if you want to go first.
I'd like you to take it first.
Right. So I saw a team that is determined to win this trophy. To go to Valencia, which is a difficult environment, and go a goal down as well, and then to score 4 goals, namely through our 2 strikers, which I believe are really, really determined to win this competition. That's no mean feat, and for Aubameyang probably to put in his best display of the whole season to get a hat trick on that night, I just thought there was something very, very special and cohesive within that team and a determination. I saw determination that night.
I would 100% agree with you on that. I saw everything being laid out on the line. My only woof or my only small negative comment that I have to make is why do we have to go down a goal before the team kicks in and gets a shock? The blood starts racing or blood starts boiling. Like, how did we allow this stupidity to happen?
Yeah.
So,
and
guys, that's it. I don't care about 1 or 2 goals. We're going to go score 4 or 5 goals right now.
This game came directly after the Brighton game when we knew all hopes of our top 4 were gone. So players put all of the eggs in the basket and really went out there and finished off the tie versus Valencia with the help of a 2-goal lead at the start. So I saw a steely determination to go out there and win the Europa League final and to take this trophy.
I would want us as all us Gooners to experience that feeling, that these guys are fighting for us also, because that's essentially what we want. I mean, it was very heartbreaking that we didn't make top 4 because, like I'm saying, like the easiest run in it. Okay, don't underestimate the team. You take it a game at a time. But we literally had 3, 4 chances. This team slipped up, this team slipped up, this team slipped up.
Yeah. And
we slip up.
Like I said, I think you.
Given another chance.
I think before you came on.
The same thing happens.
I think before you come on to the show as well, we talked about Aaron Ramsey and how the stadium just emptied after the Brighton game, and I think that was a consequence of us losing all hopes of top 4 with that terrible, terrible result versus Brighton. Criminal hand on the shoulder from Xhaka to concede a penalty, and we were just clueless that day. But
that's the problem with some of our more aggressive midfielders, like you're saying, Xhaka, and to be honest with you, Mustafi's rash like that as well. Socrates is one thing I'd love him to cut out. If he can cut out, he can become a world beater. He's the amount of yellow cards that he gets, and like we've seen earlier, that cost us because the games in the run-in, I think he was missing for about 3 of them or 2 of them due to having 10 red yellow cards and getting I think it was a 3-match ban or 2-match ban, and we needed the likes of him alongside the likes of a Koscielny. A lot of people saying Koscielny is finished. It's not that Koscielny is completely finished as per se. It's just his pace is slowed down. His positional play but like I'm saying, it all depends who is standing with you. Like say for instance, if me and you were standing together as centre backs, I'm relying on you and you are relying on me. We're watching out for each other, watching each other's backs. If I see you messing up in a certain way, I'm going to be there to obviously recover the ball and get it back to midfield so that you can send it to the front. Or I'm myself going to try and send all the way to the front to avoid a corner or a throw-in or free kick that could result in a goal being scored and our heads dropping.
Yeah, London Old School has said he can't see Ozil getting a statue, and then various comments agreeing on it with us about Kolasinac, and then Noe has some good suggestions for centre back. We need to sign Jonathan Tah from Bayer Leverkusen. He's a beast.
Yeah, he's another one of those players. I was thinking he popped up on my suggestions of players to sign, and I added him onto my transfer list. Unfortunately, this game that I am playing is unrealistic in terms of fees.
It's not Stan Kroenke handicapped, is it?
Yeah, definitely. Because if they were going to fix that, I think it was going to be a one of, like I would rate it at 9. Because even like earlier on, City came in with an offer for Granit Xhaka, of about 80 million or 85 million.
Would you sell Xhaka in real life?
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
If I'm getting a player to replace him, it would be, to be honest with you, I want Adrian Rabiot.
Yeah.
But I think he's more of a Ramsey replacement. But
I would love Rabiot, and maybe the link with Emery can help. And maybe Emery can convince Rabiot to come along. Maybe, just maybe it's already a done deal, and they just have to wait till after the Europa League final. Because nothing's been decided yet, right? Is he a free agent right now? Is Rabiot a free agent?
Yes, he's a free agent, but that's what I'm saying. The only thing that may be halting it also is apparently also like there's an attitude problem. Like you know how we talk about mentality, how players think they're comfortable and they deserve a slot without other players fighting, for their position, or for them to actually fight for their position. I think he's one of those players. But like you say, you're agreeing with me. We're thinking exactly the same, and maybe Richard or Noe or London Old School, or somebody also thinks, or Alex possibly thinks the same way. Where I honestly we would love him in our squad. We would love him in our squad. If it's an attitude problem, let's hope if we sign him, we can remove that and he can become a fighter.
Let's look at some of the things to consider. Here, he's a French player. He knows a lot of the players already at Arsenal. He would get along very, very well with all of the players, with that French French thing connection. Thanks. The French connection. He's worked with Emery before. He's not committed to anybody yet. Maybe there's something going on. Maybe there's some back channeling going on.
I hope there's some sort of back channeling. Because I mean,
and he's perfect to take over from Ramsey.
Oh my goodness! Can you picture him and Torreira there in the midfield? Oh,
yeah.
My heart would be on other levels of happiness if we honestly sign him.
We never know about these combinations in midfield until they actually get out on the field and play together. Midfield is such a complex area because it midfield knits the whole team together. Because it's in contact with the defense and the wingers and the strikers. So it's very, very important, that midfield partnership. Something that I was talking to Alex about earlier, and we want to also acknowledge here that Santi Cazorla was called up to the Spanish team, and that is just a really, really nice thing. And all of his hard work has paid off in getting himself back to fitness.
Has anybody got a tissue for me? Because I literally have tears in my eyes when I heard that.
Yeah.
And now that I'm really hearing it again for the millionth time.
He's had a wonderful season. He's had a wonderful season with Villarreal. And
yes, I'm so happy. We've said before, in our dream squad, it would be Torreira and Santi playing in the middle. And like, for me, this news was absolutely heartwarming. Like, yeah. I loved it.
I think, unfortunately for me, we were two trains going in different directions. Santi needed to move on to do something with his career, and Unai Emery needed to come in and do something different as well. We can only speculate as to how it would have went if Santi Cazorla had been in the team this season.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ray, at the same time, if a player injury prone, as we say, because I heard there was linking us to Eric Bailly from Man United for, I think it was 30 million or 35 million. And I was saying, look, I think he would be a good centre back for us, but the injury is a problem if you're injury prone, because I mean, even the likes of Santi, we moved him on because, like we say, it's not that they were ruthless or we were ruthless in getting him out, but if Santi wasn't going to be able to get back to fitness, we were unsure. That unsurety is, it's like you need to rely on a player, like week in, week out. And unfortunately, that wasn't the case as much as we loved him and as much as we can dream about.
Hindsight is 2020, so knowing what we know at the end of the season, it would have been wonderful to have Santi Cazorla there, so we would not have had to overplay Guendouzi or even indeed have an El Neni in midfield when we needed something better.
Exactly.
So Richard says, my dream midfield would be Kante and Torreira because they both play very similar. Cannon Fodder said,
holy shit, that would be a bad one though.
Cannon Fodder said, so happy for Cazorla. And then there was some talk about Galatasaray coming in for Ozil, maybe as a final destination. I think Ozil has talked about going back to play in Turkey.
I mean, he's Turkish, like Turkish.
Yeah, like Turkish.
And like Turkish, but I would be all for one of kicking him off the wage bill, so we can bring in some more quality players. That
unfortunately, we're in an era where the superstar player dictates very often where he's going to go and where he's not going to go. So I think it's going to be difficult. We may try again this summer to move him on, but don't be surprised if Mr. Mesut Ozil is still on the books at the end of the summer.
Do you know if we just move on, if we move Mickey and Ozil, that's 500,000 in wages.
Yeah.
You can go play you can pay two players 150 or more, but like world-class players that were coming to Arsenal and
I think
and shine.
I think it's going to be easier to move Mkhitaryan on than it will be for Ozil. And he's quite happy to stay here.
So
No, he says he has quite a few 100,000 reasons why he's happy at Arsenal.
Quite a few 100,000 reasons. That is so funny.
Anyway, that is a tired topic right now. So, how long have we been going now? Final predictions.
I think for about an hour and 45.
Yeah, we usually do an hour and a half. It's been a long show. Let's look ahead to the final. Mahir, what's your feeling? 10 days, 11 days from now, we'll do a watch along for that final. But how do you feel about it going into that game? And what did you think? What did you think about Eintracht Frankfurt putting it up to Chelsea right to the last in the semi-final?
I honestly couldn't believe it. I was so happy at the end of our game. I said, okay, I'm going to switch and possibly see Frankfurt. And Frankfurt missed two open opportunities. I think it was in extra time, and I said to myself, oh my God, why did they score those goals? Anyway, it goes through to penalty shootout, and it was in their hands. The keeper made a save, and then the next two penalty takers kicked it right at the keeper. I was discussing it with a fellow Guna. You go for two things: power or placement.
Yeah.
The two best places, power is top bins, left or right hand side. And if you're kicking it into the lower left or right corner and placement and you fool the keeper, that's a definite goal. So you either do both of them together or you do one or the other. Yeah,
Chelsea were quite lucky in the penalty shootout. That one from the defender hit the leg of Kepa, and could have gone in quite easily.
Could have gone in, but as a penalty taker, I'm not much of a footballer, but from what I know about penalties, that's what I'm saying that's why I'm just like informing all our subscribers that it's power placement. You either fool the keeper and you fake him.
Now,
you just put so much power whether or not it touches the keeper, it goes in.
We want to call out a friend to the channel, James Rowe. He had talked at length about Eintracht Frankfurt, and it was his tip to maybe upset Chelsea. And no disgrace, James. Um, they came so close to upsetting Chelsea. Um, it could have easily been Frankfurt in the final with us as well. But we have a London derby as a European Cup final.
Which is still amazing, though. Shout out to James for that, because he gives us he gives us very in-depth knowledge about international transfers and international teams. In-depth, as per our previous discussions on the podcast. And I also just want to thank everybody for tuning in also to our podcast, the Arsenal Fan Circle. You guys are all family. We are all family. And hopefully, he puts out he puts out the best possible, and has maybe a little bit of firepower on the bench. Comes up with a masterclass.
Very important. Most of our best players are narrow, if you know what I mean. So very important we have Socrates and Koscielny fit, first of all. And then the two players in midfield, likely Xhaka and Torreira. And then finally our two strikers. That is the basis of our team. Those 6 players, along with the goalkeeper, whoever that may be, probably Peter Cech. To be fair, Peter Cech has not done anything wrong in the competition, but people favor Leno over Cech.
Do you know why? The reason why we favor him is we don't know exactly. He hasn't done anything wrong, but this is a final. I don't know if you really want to risk. Somebody actually said earlier in the week he's contracted to play all the Europa games. And if that is true, it's a bit mad that you would make that decision from the get-go.
Yeah.
Because it's a final. It's our most important.
I can't see
his breaks us right now.
His contract would have been negotiated a year or two ago, and we did start with Cech as first choice goalkeeper this season. Now we've come a long way, and Leno has proved himself.
We did the same thing. We did the same thing in the league. Unfortunately, I agree with whoever said that the only reason Leno got his shot was because Cech got injured, and that Cech would be playing most of the Premier League games.
Absolutely, but at some point this season, Leno was going to get a chance to prove himself. Whether it would have been in the secondary competitions like the Europa League or the cup competitions, Leno would have had an opportunity.
I wouldn't have had it either. Either way. I wouldn't have had Cech in my goalposts during the Premier League, all of our main matches, because Leno was always going to be our number one keeper. Always. Peter Cech was always going to be on the back burner. I just want to give you guys a shout here, but I personally think Ospina will be sold to Napoli. Martinez is going to be released, and I would love for us to sign Jack Butland.
Ooh, Jack Butland. All right, listen, to sign off, because we will have a show tomorrow as well. To sign off, everybody give me their prediction. I believe that there's been a couple of predictions for the Europa League already. London Old School 2-1. Noe has told me 3-2 to Arsenal. So London Old School and Arsenal, and Noe believe Arsenal will win the Europa League. I believe we will win 3-1 in the end.
Yes, that's very realistic. I'm also going with 3-1. I would love for us actually to beat it 3-0 if possible.
We have been burned so many times. We've been burned so many times this season. We are not feeling cocky, just confident. Just want to say that.
Yeah, not cocky at all. We're not Bante FC. We're not loudmouth people. That's why a lot of
I was feeling that way in the league toward the end of the season when we had eight easy, not easy, but eight we winnable games. And Richard has said
Winnable games, yeah.
3-2 to Arsenal, maybe extra time.
Ooh, I don't want that. I don't want any nervousness and I don't want any anger from us. Like that's the reason why I'm giving even a possibly a 3 prediction.
No, I mean I can't
Because
even
I
can't even contemplate.
spoke to goodness about an hour ago.
I can't even contemplate going into the summer losing the Europa League final. I can't contemplate that. Everybody, join us tomorrow. We're going to sign off pretty soon. Do make time if you can to join us tomorrow. Trying to get a sports psychologist to come on the show with me, and if it's posted, it's going to happen. So check and see if it's posted on the channel. And that's. I think you have the last word, Mahir.
Yeah, man, I just want to thank everybody. That's been with us from day one. Like I always say, we love you guys, and we would love to interact with you guys more for like live watch-alongs and like let us know of ideas for future videos. Like the transfers, for example.
Thanks, Alex, for your support. Thanks, London Old School, and Noe, and Richard. You've all made this a really, really good show. And my friend Gunden News too.
Yeah, of course. Because I think if I'm willing, I might do a Gundit News tonight, guys. And like, if you can let us also know like of future segments you would love to see, transfers, for example. We can have a 5-minute transfers with yours truly and with Raymond as well, the host of Arsenal Fan Circle, my good friend, my brother. And even duration times, for example, say for instance, we normally go 90 minutes plus extra time, maybe just 90 minutes, sometimes longer, and like duration times, topics of discussion. So,
and
we have a family.
if
ups and downs during the entire seasons.
If anyone does want a shirt, an Arsenal fan circle shirt, I have some extra large and large sizes, and DM me at Arsenal Circle. DM me at Arsenal Circle, or contact me here on Gunded News, and we'll sort something out.
Do that. Yes, we can.
So we can send addresses through DMs on Arsenal Circle Twitter or Gunded News. Message Mahir directly.
Yeah, please do that, guys. Because we do also would love to see you guys rocking merchandise as you guys are family.
I'll figure out a way. I'll figure out a way how to do it. But yeah, we can get it. We can take care of our loyal supporters.
Of course.
Until tomorrow, everybody, do try to join us tomorrow. I'm just trying to get the fine details ironed out, but we're hopefully going to have a sports psychologist tomorrow, and that will be a lot of fun. Until tomorrow, everybody have a Gooner day, and come on, you Gooners. We are out of here. We're out of here. Good night.